everyone, Kevin here with MTG Frontier, and it's been a really long time since I played a video with Bant Humans, probably a couple months at this point. And the thing that drew me back to it and pressured me into playing it in Season 2 of the Untap League is this little guy from Rivals of Ixalan, Warkite Marauder. Such an amazing card. In my honest opinion, it breaks the deck. It makes Dromoka's commands so much more effective, and it allows you to attack with a 2-1 that can quickly become a 4-3 in the air, depending on when you land your lieutenants. That really just not only attacks in the air, but also opens up the ground for your bigger guys to get through. And it's been really awesome. I've been enjoying this card a lot in testing. I think I went something like 15-4 with it in testing, so it's been really, really solid. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about what it changes in the deck and what we've what I've done to sort of adjust for how the metagame is going. So after Season 3, Team Blue Black expected a lot less prevalence of Jund Delirium and other Delirium strategies, and a lot more hate against the big mid-range decks, and more of a control metagame, just because Scarab God is such a brutal card, and we knew it would become apparent that Scarab God was an awesome way to have main deck graveyard hate. So we decided to take a bit of a split strategy. Most of the team is playing an Abzan list that our friend Taylor Holbrook came up with and really streamlined. And Matt McTavish worked on that list with him as well. I went ahead and decided instead to work on Bant Humans. And while I did get some reps in with Abzan, the thing that kept drawing me back was honestly like Warkite Marauder just solved so many problems. And especially when playing against the team's Abzan list, I found that it allowed me to win fights with Rhinos in a match that previously I had a really, really hard time winning. And it shorted up to about a 50-50, which is the best you can ask for in mid-range versus mid-range, I find. And then beyond that, it's just altogether a really solid card. It's something that the list has needed for a long time because it has struggled to respond to decks with a lot of flyers. And, well, Warkite Marauder definitely does that. So we run 2 in the main board. I could be convinced to go to a 3-3 split with Glorybound Initiate, but I found that having more than 2 in the main deck really weakened the deck against Atarka Red. And since that's one of the draws to running Bant Humans, because this Atarka Red matchup is so favored, I didn't want to fix something that wasn't broken, as it were. So we're running 2 Warkite Marauder in the main board, and then we have gone to 1 in the sideboard as well. And we bring that in against Abzan and sometimes Control if they board in a lot of ground creatures like... Gifted Aetherborn is one that they like to use a lot. So in addition to that, I am now on 3 Tireless Tracker main. Because the metagame has gotten so controlling, we expect games to run late, and because of that, it's less expected for us to be able to white weenie out our opponent with things like Thalia Heretic Cathar. And I want to draw as many cards as possible, essentially, and Tireless Tracker is our best way to generate card advantage. So we run 3 main, 1 in the sideboard. We definitely bring that in against Control. And then we're also running an additional island. We went down 1 forest, up 1 island in the mana base so that we could support playing turn 2 Warkite Marauders. And other than that, the changes to the sideboard that I've made is I now run 2 Negate. Instead of my Megalhorns, because it's a bit of a catch-all against a lot of combo and control finishers. And I run 1 Tragic Arrogance now, just for the memes. The big deal in Abzan these days is running Tragic Arrogance against me, so it's good to be able to play them at their own game. And then, yeah, other than that, no other changes. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with some games. All right, so here we are for game 3, rather for match 3 against my young Padawan Osterwort, and our opening hand is perfect, and we're on the play. So, pretty easy 1-2-3 drop, and then follow it up with a tracker to get a clue. So, yeah, I haven't had a better hand in my whole life. We'll go ahead and run out a Thraben Inspector and get this clue. Ship back the turn. Alright, and our opponent is on a Tarka Red, so the Warkite Marauders are probably going to get boarded out. So I've got some options here. I think I will just put down my 2-drop and then start going to work with Dromoka's command in later turns. I definitely don't want to let them have my curve. So we'll play this Warkite Marauder and ship back the turn. So it might not be a Tarka Red, it might just be Ramunap Red. And opponent plays a Copter. And attacks for 2. I'll take 2. Okay, well I was originally going to play Thalia, but I think now I have to play my Glory Bound Initiate because life gain against this deck is going to be really good, and I have a Dromoka's command in hand. So I'll leave back a blocker, and I'll mush for 2. Okay. Second main phase, drop a GBI and a land for turn. Ship it back. So I could have played Thalia and prevented him from crewing his Smuggler's Copter with anything but Zergo. But I don't think that's proactive enough for me to want to do it. So now they have to spend some of their cards getting rid of my GBI. And they don't have any prowess triggers to take advantage of that yet. At least not on board. Alright, opponent plays a fetch, so they very well might have a Tarka's command in their deck. Alright, here's a Soulscar Mage. Cruise the Copter. I will block here and take 3. Okay, opponent leaves up some spoopy lands. That might mean interaction, or it might just mean that they didn't have anything to play, because they might be flooded too. I won't fetch yet, because I do want another land. And I got it. Cool. So I'll crack this. We'll get a Canopy Vista. And it feels bad not playing it with Tracker backup, but I'll just run out my land for turn. And then we can fetch to get a clue next turn. Go to combat. Alright. So our opponent decides to let us attack, and we shall. And I'll target this guy. Okay. Opponent is thinking about my triggers. Okay. So before damage, we'll go ahead and put a counter on our GBI and have it fight Zergo. Actually, we'll have it fight this guy. Okay, gain 10. And it's going to be hard for Atarka to bring it back from this one. And I'll probably crack this at the end of the turn. I imagine my opponent might fetch a Cinderglade here. Yep. So it is Atarka red. It's not just a mono red deck. Opponent Cruise Copter. Mushes for 3. Loots off Copter. Discards an Atarka's command. Interesting. That was curious. Maybe they have a Hazoret in hand? Take 3. They have an Abbot of Carol Keep, okay. And they already played land for turn, so they can't play that mountain. Alright, opponent ships the turn. End of turn, we will fetch for a Prairie Stream. This one. Shuffle and crack a clue. We get a Dromcom, that's pretty perfect. And untap, draw for turn. Alright, well, we didn't get a land, so I think I want to save this for possible synergies with my with my Glorybound Initiate once it untaps. So I think I just want to play Thalia and Mush this turn. So we'll go to combat. And we'll get him for 2, and I'll target this guy. Alright, and we'll play our Thalia. Actually, nope, I don't have any revolt triggers, so I'll just play my Thalia. And we'll ship back the turn. End of turn, my opponent might kill my Thalia. Interesting, they strike my Glorybound Initiate. Okay. Well, that's fine. I can definitely still do cool stuff with Warkite Marauder and Dramoka's command, like take out a Hazoret, for instance. So, not the end of the world. And having a first striker is really helpful. Alright, opponent cruise with Zergo. Attacks with Copter. Only attacker. No blocks. Loots away a Zergo. Take 3, I guess, and then 3 goblins. Three tapped Glibglobs. And we might be able to swing for lethal next turn. Probably not. If we draw Thalia's Lieutenant exactly, then we can swing for lethal. Because my opponent only left back 1 blocker. And we didn't draw Thalia's Lieutenant, so I think what I do this turn is I will play my Tireless Tracker. And that doesn't let me Dramoka's command. Yeah, I think I just mush for 2 in the air, just to leave back blockers, because this is going to be a very big Atarka's command. I might actually just hang back. Really wish I had another green source. Alright, ship back the turn. Alright, opponent wild slashes my Thalia. There will be a prowess trigger here. Yep. Dragon fodder. Alright, so no Atarka's command, so we're not in the clear, but it's not the end of the world. Things are looking kind of bleak, though. This is a lot of goblins, and if my opponent does get an Atarka's command, this is going to be pretty brutal, representing a lot of damage on board. And swinging him for 3 and 6. No loot. They like what they have in hand. Sorry, yeah, 7. I forgot about the trigger off of the dragon fodder. Okay. Do I want to block this? Take 7. Alright. End of turn. I will crack this clue. We'll put a counter on our tracker. Draw a card. Untap, draw. It's Windswept Heath. Okay. So we can definitely get a Glorybound Initiate out of the graveyard. And then save this Dromoka's command to prevent the actual damage itself from Atarka's command. I think I'll do that. Need to get a green source, so we'll fetch a basic forest. And that might kill me, but we gotta do it where we can. Is my opponent convoking a Stoke the Flames? Alright, they are Stoke the Flamesing my Tireless tracker. I will respond by preventing the damage and putting a counter on my Warkite Marauder. Okay. So now we can trade with Smuggler's Copters, which is good. We'll get a couple clues off of this transaction as well. And they made me do that on my turn. Sorry, we'll get a couple clues off the transaction with the fetch land. And then I'll play a Renegade Rallier and get a Glorybound Initiate out of the graveyard. I've said a few times that Warkite Marauder is soft to aggro, and that's definitely something that I am still a firm believer about. Okay, more goblins. Alright, my opponent does not attack, which seems kind of silly considering they could have at least attacked with Copter and done 3 in the air. But I guess they're leaving back blockers. Kind of curious. Alright, we get a second Glorybound Initiate, which is pretty great for us. So now I can just start chaining Glorybound Initiates to gain life every turn. Play a land. Get a clue. And we still have at least one basic plains in our fetch base. Go to combat. And exert. Alright, opponent jumps with a goblin. We gain 4. And we'll go ahead and play our Glorybound Initiate in our second main phase. Cool. So, definitely not in the clear here, but things are looking a little better. Ship back the turn. Alright, so opponent decides not to loot away their mountain, which is once again a little curious. But they've got a lot of damage represented on board. I've got pretty good blocks though. Alright, opponent ships back the turn. So, end of turn, we will fetch this. And get a plains. 2 blue sources is definitely enough. Make a clue. And crack 2 clues. Two counters on tracker. And draw 2 cards. Alright, one of them's a Reflector Mage, so that's pretty great. We'll untap everything but our Glory Bound Initiate and draw for turn. Alright, Collected Company's perfect, so we've got perfect use for our mana. I'll play this Forest and get a clue. I guess the question is whether I want to main phase this Collected Company, and the possibility that I would get an Abzan Falconer off of it is highly appealing just because my opponent doesn't have sufficient blockers for a set of 4 flyers in the air. So yeah, we'll go ahead and main phase this Collected Company. Alright, and we whiff it. So, that happens really infrequently in Bant Humans, but it does happen. So, you know, maybe once every 20 Collected Companies or so, you get a whiff. Alright, so I guess now the question is whether I play my Reflector Mage or crack a clue and hope to get a Thalia's Lieutenant. And I think the Reflector Mage is probably the better call. So yeah, I'll reflect this Abbot of Carrow Keep. It has a lot of potential with prowess triggers, so I will bounce that. So we'll ship that back and go to combat. Exert. Alright, ship back the turn. Alright, dragon fodder for our opponent. Really curious, they would be in such a good state if they hadn't looted away this Atarka's command. But they did, so here we are. Alright, so we'll untap this Glory Bound Initiate and all of our lands. Draw for the turn. It's a fetch, which is really good for me. So we'll put this land into play, get a clue, and then we'll fetch. Land enters the battlefield. Yeah, we'll get an island. No reason not to. And another clue. I will crack the clue that we just got. Draw a card. Put a counter on Tireless Tracker. And we'll go ahead and play this Thalia's Lieutenant. So we'll put a counter on all our Deuterinos. And I think I'll crack another clue. just to see what's going on in here. We'll put a counter on tracker and draw. And it's Thalia, which is pretty solid. So yeah, I'll play Thalia. And we will put a counter on our lieutenant. Cool. Attacks for turn, we will go ahead and go to combat and get in there with an exerted glorybound initiate. Okie doke, opponent jumps the 5, we gain 5. And ship back the turn. Alright, so other card in hand for my opponent was a Bloodstained Mire, and they play an Abbot of Carol Keep, which will allow them to trigger, and it's a land. They cannot play land for a turn. Okay, and they ship back the turn. Cool. So we will untap, and this guy stays tapped. Alright, Reflector Mage is a pretty sick draw. Let's see what else we can get. Alright, Renegade Rallier is also pretty sick. We can get a Thraben Inspector out of the graveyard because we triggered Revolt off of our clue. And then we have, let's see, 7 mana, so we wouldn't be able to crack the clue this turn, but I'm fine with that. I don't know about y'all. It'll put an extra counter on our Thalia's Lieutenant too. Alright, so we'll Reflector Mage this Abbot of Carol Keep and put a counter on this Thalia's Lieutenant. Oh wait. I missed some things. Alright, so just some game state cleanup. Cool, and I will target Zergo with my Reflector Mage. Alright, cool. So I think we can start attacking with our Tireless Tracker. She's definitely out of the weeds as far as getting chumped is concerned. So I'll run out my Renegade Rallier and we'll get this Thraben Inspector out of the graveyard and put 2 counters on our Thalia's Lieutenant and get a clue. And then we'll go to combat. And I'll swing with these 2 Deuterinos. Sorry, Tireless Tracker is a Deuterina. Okay, opponent chumps. We gain 5. And get rid of 2 Glibglobs. Ship back the turn. Alright, opponent scoops. On to game 2. Alright, so probably bring in these 3. Alright, so boarded in 2 Irration Clerics and our 3rd Thalia and our 4th Dramoka's command for our Tireless Trackers and a what was it? A Renegade Rallier. And this hand looks kind of keepable. It is a little soft, but we have our best, one of our best 2-drops for the situation. We've got 3 lands and another 2-drop. So this is all right on the draw, and I can always hit Irration Clerics off of Collected Company, so I think I can keep this. All right. Opponent leads on Wooded Foothills. And they fetch it, so it looks like they're going to have a 1-drop. Mountain for turn. Zergo. Cool. So we're not taking damage this turn, and we drew our 1-drop, which is perfect. I'll go ahead and run that out. Because when you can block, you should. Alright, opponent fetches with a Windswept Teeth. I think they have to get a Cinderglade here. They get a basic Forest, which is curious. Definitely not the land that Atarka Red wants to be playing. Alright, and Dragon Fodder. So an Atarka's command here could be pretty brutal. I should probably let 2 damage through because a blocker on an Atarka turn would be more important than a blocker for 2 damage. So we'll take the 2 damage. Alright, opponent shifts back the turn. We'll untap. And we draw a Wooded Foothills, which is good because we needed it for playing our collected companies. Since I did board out my tireless trackers, I don't really have a need to keep fetches up. So I'll get a basic Forest. And play a Glorybound Initiate, ship back the turn. We're not out of the weeds, but we are not in the worst position either. Okay, this might be... Oh, Aethersphere Harvester. That's interesting. Alright, no attacks from my opponent. We'll fetch on my upkeep. Get a Canopy Vista. Draw for turn. It's a Wooded Foothills. I'm definitely just planning on leaving up Collected Company, and I want my opponent to attack into it. So I will play a Wooded Foothills and ship back the turn. Opponent fetches end of turn, probably for a Cinderglade. Yep. Alright, so this Aethersphere Harvester demonstrates that they're planning on going into the late game. And here's a Smuggler's Copter. Cruise the Aethersphere Harvester, so we're definitely going to do stuff in response to the crew. So I'll fetch a basic Forest. And something to note now is that if I draw Wooded Foothills, it's useless to me other than to trigger Revolt, so that'll be something to remember. Alright, we'll go ahead and... Okay. So we get our Abzan Falconer, which is good and bad, but we don't get a Reflector Mage, which is what we were looking for here. Alright, so we'll put 2 counters on this. And I will chump this with a flying Thraben Inspector. My opponent just deliberating why I would have flying. Alright. So we'll lose our Thraben Inspector and our opponent will gain 3 life, but we can definitely still get back in this. Alright, and we draw a Dramoka's command, which is pretty solid, so we can mitigate some of the possible blowouts that a Atarka's command would cause. I guess the question is whether I want to main phase a Collected Company or play a Warkite Marauder and leave up Dramoka's command with a clue combination. Oh, I have another clue off of a Thraben Inspector. Yeah, I think I should probably go for it, because the reason I would leave up a clue, the reason I would main phase Collected Company or play a Collected Company at all would be to interact with this Ether Sphere Harvester by Reflector Maging it. So I will run out my Warkite Marauder and put a counter on my Thalia's Lieutenant, and then we'll ship back the turn. Alright, Dragon Fodder is my spell for turn for the opponent. I'm glad I didn't board out my Warkite Marauders for situations like this. I might bring my third one in just to be able to block. Blocking a Tarkadex is really important. Alright, so opponent is all in on their creatures. And I have to figure out how to best mitigate this. So I think that I will, in response to crew, I'll put a counter on this and have it fight this. Alright, so that's one less flyer to worry about. Now if I block with my Abzan Falconer, I lose it, and it's very valuable to me at this point, so I think I will just block here, and then eat one of these. This has prowess this turn, so I'd be taking 2 from this, 2 from this, and then 1 from each of these for a total of 7. Yeah, I'll take 7. Oh, only 4? Alright. Cool. I can take 4. Okay. Opponent shifts back the turn. We get a Glorybound Initiate, which is one of our best possible draws. And if I play it, then I can completely block this. My opponent also notably hasn't triggered Lifelink at all. But I can also do a lot of things on their turn with the Collected Company. I think that we see what this clue gives us. And if it's a land, then I let my deck decide that I play Collected Company. But if it's anything else, then I think that I play my Glorybound Initiate. Alright, so it's a land, so we're definitely going to be playing Collected Company. And I guess the question is whether I should decide to get in there with my Warkite Marauder. But I think that's a little too dicey at this point. We'll ship back the turn. Alright, so second Ether Sphere Harvester for our opponent is really bad. So we're going to be getting into some lifelink shenanigans for sure. And I'll go ahead and run out this Collected Company. Let's see what we get. Alright, so Reflector Mage is definitely coming out, and I think we go for this Irration Cleric as well. I'll leave Rallier back because recurring Irration Clerics is really important for our long game right now. So we'll go for this, and we will we'll Reflector Mage this this guy. 2 counters on Thalia's Lieutenant. Alright, untap for turn, and we get a Dromoka's Command, which is really, really solid. We'll play our Glorybound Initiate, tick up on Thalia's Lieutenant. I guess the question is whether I want to attack this turn. And luckily we can save this for if my opponent decides to Lightning Strike my Glorybound Initiate. Okay. So I think I'll just hang out for now. There's no reason for me to... Yeah, there's no reason for me to get in there with these guys, so we'll pass. Alright, end of turn, we'll go ahead and crack this clue. All right, Thalia's Lieutenant should wrap up the match, I think. All right, so we'll play our land for turn. And we'll play a Thalia's Lieutenant. So now all our creatures have flying. Except for this one lone Thalia's Lieutenant. And that can always change. Alright, so now we can start trading resources with our opponent, and I definitely would like to. This Thalia's Lieutenant has gotten big enough that I would like to start getting feisty with it. So we'll go to combat. And I think we will attack with anything that can trade with an Ether Sphere Harvester, which would be these two Deuterinos. And opponent scoops. So that's going to be the match. All right. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of Warkite Marauder. I definitely think it's an incredible addition to the deck. I've been having a lot of fun with it. It feels like it breaks everything that the deck already wanted to do, and only supplements the existing strategies with Glorybound Initiate and Dromoka's commands and all of our removal. And then it really is just like such an awesome thing that our deck needed, in that like the deck struggled against Smuggler's Copter, and this allows you to block it, and it's an evasive creature that allows you to attack every turn. So winning combat is definitely what Bant Humans wants to get an edge on, and it helps with Abzan, I've found, and it helps against Jund decks because you can use this on Emrakul. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. You've been watching MTG Frontier. We are Magic Final Frontier on YouTube, and you can subscribe to us by ringing that little bell down at the bottom underneath this screen. We would love it if you would ring the bell. You can also follow us on Twitter. We are at MTG Frontier on Twitter. And then we are also available on YouTube, which is, there's not YouTube, sorry, Instagram, which would be MTG_final_frontier. Thanks, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments, and thanks for watching.